Hello my YouTube friends, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Jeanette and you're visiting the Neil's Homestead. As I'm preparing for Thanksgiving, I'm sharing with you my ideas about Thanksgiving and part of the menu. In my family, everybody brings part of the food. We do potluck, and so that gives us a good variety and not all of the responsibility of the cooking is left on any one person. But I'm going to show you some of our family favorites, some of our traditions, and the way I'm going to fix family Thanksgiving this time because it's at my house this year. The first thing we'll work on is the turkey. And I'm going to do the turkey a little bit different this year than I've ever done it before. I'm going to make it in my Instapot. I'll be marinating the turkey in a combination of spices, sage, rosemary, thyme, and some basil, and then I'll be adding some garlic and paprika and some onion and salt and black pepper. For this recipe, I'm going to cut up the turkey. I've thawed my turkey out thoroughly. I'm sharpening my knife, and I'm doing it in my sink because turkey drippings, poultry drippings concern me a little bit, and I don't want it to scatter it around in my kitchen. And my sink is very easy to clean up. This turkey was basted in approximately 9.5% turkey broth, salt, sugar, natural flavorings, and giblets are included. Pull the giblets out and I'll start cutting it up. I'm just going to cut it up like I would a chicken. First I'll cut the legs and the thighs. I'll separate that from the main body. Bend that joint where the thigh meets the back, and that lets you just cut it off like that. Next I'll take the wings off. You gotta get to the joint so that you can cut through that. You can't cut through the bone, you have to cut through the joint. Next I'll slice up the side up to like the armpit area. Well, there, I'm gonna have to do it from the outside. I usually, with the chicken, I go to the inside and do it, but this turkey's bigger and a little bit harder to maneuver and make it go where I want it to go. Now, there's some more giblets. What I'm gonna do is split this breast right down along the breastbone. And I want to try to leave the bone in, but I might not be able to. I'll have to see how it goes. So far, so good. I do need to separate it up by the top of the back and the breast, up by the head area. That went pretty easy. Now here's the hard part. I have to break the wishbone right there and try to get that separated. And I can't break it, and in the process I'm actually removing the meat from the bone. So What I'm just going to do, at least on this side, is to go ahead and remove the meat from the bone. And the way I'm fixing it, actually, I might be short on room anyway, so getting it off of there is probably a better thing. So there's one turkey breast. I'll do the same thing with the other one. Cut down the other side of the breastbone and just trim it right out of there. Now the bones from the breast certainly won't be wasted because I will be making them into broth. And the same goes for the back. There's some meat on the back, but generally there's not a lot, and I will cook it down into broth along with the neck and the giblets. In the giblets, looks like we have liver and a heart, and then the gizzards cut in half there. I cut up turkeys over here, so I'm going to wash my hands up and we'll go to the next step. I'm going to use balsamic vinegar in my marinade, and I'm going to use sesame oil. I like the flavor of sesame oil. It has a little bit of a smoky flavor, and I think it would be really good in this. And I'm not going to be able to give you specific ingredients, I fear, but I will kind of talk about what I'm doing, and I think I probably have maybe about 1/3 cup of sesame oil. Several sloshes of balsamic vinegar. Okay, this one's sage. Sage can get overpowering really quick, so I don't want too much sage. I've got a tablespoon for my measuring, and I'm going to use what I'm guessing is about a teaspoon, but then that scares me, so I'm pouring some of it back in there. I don't want my turkey to be too sagey. It's not necessarily popular. Then I just have some what they call whole basil, but as you can see, it's just crumbled up basil. It's milder, so I'm going to use about a teaspoon of that. Then I have some rosemary. We'll probably use about a teaspoon of that too. Garlic. About half a tablespoon of garlic. Almost can't have too much garlic. And then some thyme. Thyme is also fairly strong, so I'm going to use about half a teaspoon of thyme. I'll be using about 2 teaspoons of salt. Now I have to remember that there is salt probably injected, it said marinated, but maybe injected into my turkey already. So salt's a hard one for me to know. Old guy likes a lot of salt, but I always have this fear of over salting things. And then I'm going to use about a teaspoon of black pepper. Now I'm going to be adding paprika, but I'm not adding it at this point because I'm going to be using it before I brown my turkey to give it extra color. Stir these ingredients up and make sure they're kind of all the salt's dissolved and everything's mixed up well. Now you'll need a pot or a pan, like a baking dish, or I'm using this big pot to marinate my turkey in because you need something that will fit easily into your refrigerator. Okay, one piece at a time, I'm going to dip it down into my marinade and put it over into my pot. I separated the legs and thighs from each other, and I sure hope I have enough marinade. It's clinging to my my turkey pretty good, so I might have to move things around and coat it inside the pot. This turkey was actually easier to cut up than I expected it to be. It really wasn't that much of a challenge. Because I'm a little short on the marinade, I'm going to move my pieces around and put the legs down on the bottom because they're the last pieces. That way all the rest of the stuff will drip down onto the legs. And as the day goes by, I'll move things around in the pot, make sure that everything gets rubbed down well and we get a good flavoring of the seasonings mixed through it. Now I'm going to put this in my refrigerator and let it sit for up to 24 hours. I'm probably not going to quite do it that long, but maybe 6 hours. And then I'll show you what I'll do next. I know that we have a common Thanksgiving notion in our heads of a big brown turkey being carried out by Grandma and set on the table in front of Grandpa where he's going to patiently carve it up. But that's not the way we do it in our family, because we do potluck. We sit around the table after we fill our plates, but we set all the food around in the kitchen on the counter, and nobody really sees the turkey before it's all cut up onto a platter. So I'm going to do this year different. I'm not going to cook it as a whole turkey. I'm going to cook it as pieces. Now we have other meat coming. We have ham, and I can't remember if we're going to have some other meat. Seems like there was somebody said they were going to bring some other kind of meat, but I know we're having ham. So there's not going to be a shortage of meat. So I bought a small turkey, like only about less than 15 pounds to do this with. I've marinated my turkey for several hours, and now I'm going to brown it in my skillet. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I do a lot of cooking in my skillet with lard. But for this, I am going to only use vegetable oil. We have someone in our family who has an allergy to any kind of mammal products, so I have to stay away from the lard for that. So today I'm going to cook it in the vegetable oil. First I'll heat up my skillet. My skillet's hot, so I'm going to pour an ample amount of oil in the bottom to cover the bottom. And then I'm going to maintain a dirty hand that I'm going to touch the turkey with and a clean hand that I'll touch everything else with. I've laid out 2 pieces of breast here, and I will be sprinkling some paprika over the top. This is to add color to it, just to make it look browner. I don't really feel like it adds much flavor of any kind. And then after I do that, I'm going to lay this down in my hot skillet. And I'm going to sear the skin, and then I'll turn it over and sear the other side. In my Instapot, I'm putting this little rack that will hold the turkey up out of the broth underneath. Okay, when it's been seared on both sides, I'll put it into my pot. Now I need to be careful not to fill up my cooker too full, and this last wing is kind of presenting a little bit of a crowding problem. So let me see if I can rearrange a little bit, which I think I can. I have things rearranged well enough that I think it's going to be fine in my pot. I'll set it down in there. I need half a cup of water in here when I cook something. So down along the side, I'm going to just let half a cup run down to the bottom. All kinds of juices are going to come out of my turkey as it cooks, so there's no danger of it going dry. We'll get the lid set on top. Make sure it's on pressure and not steam. And I'm going to cook this on the meat setting, which is 35 minutes. It'll, I think, probably go up to 13 pounds of pressure for a little while. And then we'll take a look whenever it's finished. Well, the Instapot has done its thing and it's cooled back down. The pressure's down. So I'm going to carefully lift the lid. It really smells good. I washed my tongs, so I'm not using dirty ones. But what I'm going to do first is find my meat thermometer. And I'm going to attempt to get down into there and stick it into a breast to take the temperature. It's going up pretty fast, so I think it's going to be done. I want it to be 65 degrees. Yes, we're good. It cooked enough and got hot enough. So I'm going to take it out and put it on the platter. This isn't really a Thanksgiving-y platter, but I think that it'll work fine. Looks really nice, and I can tell that it's going to be very tender. What I'll be doing is removing the skin, and then with a knife cut across the grain to make the turkey into individual slices. And I think that's going to be great. Here's a small piece of breast that I'm going to give a taste of. It's just a piece of the breast that was separated. That's really good. I very much like what an Instapot does with meat. It cooks it nicely. It doesn't let it get dried out because it's all sealed up in there. And it doesn't let it get all watered down like boiling does. This meat cooked away from any kind of juice. The juices ran down underneath that rack. None of them got up into the meat, which I think makes it good. And it just does it perfect. I mean, I have never cooked any kind of meat in my Instapot that I didn't like. This is a great alternative to making a whole big turkey in your oven. You can do this, you can even do it ahead of time. And so you might want to consider doing your turkey this way this year. And watch for the next videos that I have in regard to being prepared for Thanksgiving, what to fix for a meal, and a lot of different things. See you next time.